Hey, what's up and how are you doing? Thank you so much for taking a moment to watch this. Thank you for taking a moment or two out of your busy day to come and consume this. I am honored by your presence and the gift of your company. It's a recorded video, but as I record this, I'm visualizing you on your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, consuming this and hopefully getting some value from it. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. This is video one. I've been wondering what to call this series, so I decided to go with Life After Rehabilitation. And on video one, I would like to officially introduce myself. One of the things that I've really struggled with leading up to actually recording these videos is a sense of imposter syndrome. I kept wondering what makes me so special that somebody else could possibly gain from the experiences that I've been through. But I can't I can't fight how I feel every single time I run into someone who is going through the harrowing ordeals of addiction, and wondering, have I done enough? Have I served enough? Have I done something that could possibly make that person's life better? Uh, in the in the first 4, possibly 5 years of my recovery after I got out of rehab the second time, I shared a lot of content on addiction and recovery. And okay, one of the things that I promised myself I'd do on these videos is be brutally honest. So I'll say this. At some point, I felt like, because I'd share a story here, a story there, on social media, and then mainstream media would catch wind of it, and I've been invited to share my story on local daily on more than one occasion. I've been invited to be on talk shows on more than one occasion. I've been invited to be part of a news item on one occasion, and so that part. I liked doing that and I felt a sense of reward doing that. But it was beginning to create synonymity. I hope that's a word. It was starting to create a sense of, it was making me synonymous with the guy of recovery addiction. I'm not perfect. My ego at that stage wanted to be associated more with the business that I was really trying to get off the ground, which was a digital marketing agency. And so I quite literally deliberately stopped posting about recovery so that I could somehow become more well known for my other business. I know it sounds foolish, possibly even childish, but that's what happened. And then so I stopped doing that for a really long time. And over the last 2 years, there's been this sense in my heart that I have more to give. I've gone through and had experiences that somebody else might be able to gain from. And I have been fighting myself internally to get to the place where I share this information and these experiences so that somebody else can take that blueprint, customize it based on their own life experiences, and possibly go through the process of early addiction recovery with a bit more confidence, with less fear, and with a sense of sure-footedness. And so here I am. Yeah. So the truth of the matter is, if or not I choose to see it and accept it, the truth of the matter is I have something to offer here. Allow me to state that disclaimer again, just in case you're watching this video and you did not catch the introduction. I am not a health professional. I am not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I am not coming to you and I'm not sharing this information as a professional. I am strictly coming to you as a guy who has been there. I'm coming to you as a very blessed guy who has somehow managed to put together the tools, information, and approach to life that have seen me go through life over the last close to 12 years as a sober guy. So I'm simply sharing from my experiences. Um, I think I chanced upon an approach to addiction recovery that may give you a better chance of staying sober. That's all I'm doing here. That's my intention with this series. Yeah. So with that, my story is it's it's intense. Anyone who's watching this and you possibly know me before, you know my story is crazy. So I may not be able to share it on this video exhaustively. Um, I'm wondering if I introduced this thing right. Just in case I did not mention this, this first video is based on my story, just for purposes of helping you see that I've been there. I've been where you are, um, possibly worse off than you are. And I was somehow granted the serenity to go about life as a sober guy. I do not take that for granted. I'm grateful for it every single day. So while my story might be too big a story to fit in this one video, especially owing to the fact that I am committed to keeping these videos as compact as possible. What I'll do instead is share highlights from my story. This will be one of the longer videos, even with that approach. But I think there's some value in helping you understand that I really have been where you are. All right. So I, I think drinks for me were they really came into my life sometime after 18, 19, thereabout. I started living by myself very early. My first car house was what I was actually I was still waiting for my ID to be processed. So I must have been somewhere between 18 and 19. And with that freedom came experimenting. And so I started drinking pretty early. But at the same time, so I'm a creative. I do many things. I found it easier to say I'm a creative. It kind of blankets over everything nicely. At that stage, I was working for a music production company as an artist and rapporteur. So basically, my job entailed looking and finding new talent that the record label could sign. I loved that job because I was also an aspiring singer. Anyways, so that's kind of when I began to really drink more deliberately. There was always the ones where an uncle gives you a sip of his beer or whatever when I was a child, but the first time I had a beer and finished it, I had bought it with my own money. I was already earning. So it kind of started off pretty easy and a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of stuff that had happened in my earlier development had just kind of been compounding over time. And so as I drank and, went about the business of being a creative as I thought that's how creatives should be, man, I came undone. Allow me to start the story there because there's it lends itself to what we're trying to do here. So at the end of a very, very chaotic 3 years as a deliberate heavy drinker, my life had come to a complete standstill. And it all hinged on one occasion. I was in Diani. If you're watching this outside of Kenya, that's one of our coastal towns. And I'd gone there to get away from it all. Everyone was insisting that I have a problem. And I'd had enough of that conversation. So I got away and I was out there for about 3 weeks. And during that time, gosh, I did it all. By this stage, by the time I'm going to Diani, uh, my boss, so I'd moved several times. I've compacted something like 7 years of life experience there just to get to this point. So at this stage, I'm working for one of East Africa's, in fact, East Africa's biggest media company. And I was a deputy creative director there. And my boss, an amazing human being, recognized the fact that some ain't right with you. And he actually suggested that I go into the system in the office and get a number for one of the pre-approved psychiatrists and just have a conversation with them. So I'd already gone ahead to do that. And the doctor I saw, a very wise old man called Dr. Max Okonji, he was convinced that I was manic depressive. Another way for saying that is that I had bipolar. Excuse me. Yeah, so he had gone ahead to prescribe some medication, excuse me, a mood stabilizer by day and some kind of tranquilizer by night. And so by the time I'm heading to Diani, I had this medication with me. And one of the things that he had been very categorical about is the fact that I wasn't supposed to mix any of this medication with my drinks. All right, then. So fast forward to Diani. And I mean, carnage, my guy, carnage. Excuse me. I mean, anything that I woke up and thought of doing, I did. I'd wake up and I'd drink from the morning until I blacked out. And then I'd wake up and find some cocaine and I'd go on. I'd eat a little bit. Actually, I ate a lot. And that was just basically my life for 3 weeks. I have edited the more PG rated stuff. I was having sex with everyone. Okay, perhaps a very broad term there. Women, yeah. I like women. So anyway, I mean, this is one of the parts of my story that to this day, all these years later, still make me feel like, my God, how I disrespected myself. Man, I had a ton of sex with strangers, with people who are willing to be paid for it. But also remember that for the better part of 6 months leading to this Diani experience, I had not had a sober day. Even at work, I was a high functioning alcoholic. I'll go to work and I'll deliver. But I was always under the influence. Like I was at that stage, I had to have a drink in the morning just so I could leave the door. Otherwise, nothing's going to get done on that day. So towards the end of that 3 weeks, things got really all over the place. And on three subsequent occasions, I tried to take my life while in Diani. Um, I'm feeling myself getting roped into the story, so I'll allow myself to go there. I'm sorry if this video ends up being a bit long. So remember those meds that Dr. Okonji gave me that were not even supposed to be consumed concurrently. One was during the day, one was during the night. So I took all of them. I must have had at least a month's worth of medication. I consumed all of them and drowned them with vodka, and I went to bed. And the idea was I was hoping not to wake up. And I wake up in the morning, and right next to the bed, I'd thrown up in the night, and all the tablets are there. Most of them were still intact. And first of all, when you've gotten to the place in your life where you're willing and even attempting to end your life, and you go ahead to do so and it does not work. I can't explain that feeling. It's a level of darkness and despair that I do not wish on anyone. So instantly I had to figure out another way to do it. At this stage now, I was fully committed to this thing. And so the next thing I did is I went to the balcony in the place I was staying. So it was a rental, it was like a holiday rental villa. And so the back balcony had a place where you can hang your clothes. And I did the wire they had there where you hang your clothes, and I went to the spare bedroom and I rigged it on the roof. It had a structure. The roof structure allowed for there was a beam, a huge beam, a load-bearing beam that I went and rigged up and then hid it somewhere in the beam, so that the cleaning lady would not see it. And the cleaning lady, as she always did in the morning, she came, excuse me, and she went about the business of cleaning the place. And I was seated watching TV, drinking as usual, and saluted her, niceties, how is your family, blah 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 blah, and she went about her business. 45 minutes, an hour later, she was done, and I went through the day, drinking and doing those other things. And then in the evening, I went upstairs after I'd finished the bottle I was drinking, and I went to the spare room, and the idea was, it's time. And I go and I put on the noose, and I use one of those bedside stools or whatever you want to call them, and I jumped off it. And that's all I remember. The next thing I remember is I wake up in the morning and I'm somehow on the stool. So it's like after I jumped off it, it slid and I landed my back on it, because the first thing I remember was shooting pain in my back. And I woke up and rolled off the stool. So can you imagine how high I must have been to spend the whole night on the stool, my guy? What the heck, you know? Um, then decided, we needed a foolproof plan. I had made a friend in Diani, a very resourceful guy. Um, he was one of those older beach boys who, knew their way around. The first thing that I had engaged this individual around was getting me cocaine. And then, I woke up and situated myself, and I went to the beach bar where he would usually pass by at some point, and I engaged him and asked him if it was possible to get a firearm. And so, long story long, he was able to get me a revolver with 3 rounds, which, I went and hid in this safe upstairs until the evening. And so I go about my business. Me and this individual end up having a lot of drinks. I needed to prove to him that everything was okay. I think I told him that I was feeling unsafe because it's a new place. I don't know people. And I think I even told him that somebody had tried opening the back door of the villa at some point in the night. And so the idea was, when the time came for me to go back home, I'd hand back the firearm. And he bought the story, and I threw in a small party for two to convince him that everything was okay. Anyway, that evening, I remember vividly sitting in the living room. On the coffee table was my Smirnoff vodka blue, a pack of cigarettes, remotes, and that revolver and my phone. And I had about that much left in the bottle. And the idea had been I'd finish this bottle and then I'd go and off myself in the master. Just as a just like maybe two doubles left on that bottle, and my phone rings and it's my grandma. A bit of backstory for anybody who is watching this and doesn't know me. I was raised by my grandma. And what's interesting about this particular phone call is the fact that when I went to Diani because I did not want to hear what everyone had to say, I had changed numbers. I had bought a different SIM card with a different number, and I had not shared that number with anybody outside of the place where I was staying. Um, but the phone rings and it says it's grandma, and I pick up and she's in tears and she says, "Do not let me lose another son." My grandma had been blessed with four children, two boys, two girls. The two girls, my aunties, are great. They are healthy. They are well. God bless them. My father and my uncle passed away. And when she said those words while crying, it got to me. And she asked me, "Where are you? What are you going through?" She just sensed that something was not right. And I broke down and I cried and I told her everything that I was going through. And she said that she was sending me all the way from Nairobi to come and retrieve me. So here's what's interesting about this particular phone call, over and above the fact that it saved my life. There is no way that Shosho calls my old number, which to the best of her recollection is what she did. She picked up her phone when she started feeling that something was wrong, and she found my number and dialed it and called me. But I'm not using that line. How did she get through to me? I did not forward my calls. I did not want to be reached by anyone, but somehow my grandma calls the number she's always had, and it comes to my new. These are things of God. This is one of the great miracles of my life. I still can't explain to this day how that happened, but that's the phone call that saved my life. And so I go back to the city, to Nairobi, and I first went in for detox. Very gruesome 10 days of detox, um, which was followed by 115 days in rehab. That was me in rehab the first time. It's important that I mention that leading to this moment, I was consuming an average of 2 liters of vodka a day, a gram of cocaine, and, random number of beer bottles here and there. My tolerance was through the roof, and it was doing a number. I remember when I went to detox, of course, they'll do all these tests. They'll test your kidneys, they'll test your liver, they'll draw some blood. Um, I remember the doctor looking at me and saying, "First of all, I don't understand how you're walking," because my blood alcohol level was just redonkulous. And for me, in fact, that was barely. We went in the morning, so I'd only had the morning breakfast drinks. You know, so he just looked at me, showed me the scan results for my organs, my liver and my kidneys, and he said, "If you do not stop, I can guarantee you will not be alive in 6 months." And he went ahead to show me all the scarring that had happened in my organs owing to just this insane um, input of drugs and chemicals into my system. Luckily, at this stage, I'd already decided that I needed help. And so I accepted to get admitted for detox. And I spent 10 days there, almost immediately followed by 115 days in rehab the first time. My family, God bless them, they took me to a really amazing rehab, one of the best in the city, if not the best. It was bougie. Ooh, it was dope. I was like, well, this is rehab. I I can rock this. And unfortunately, shortly after I left rehab, I don't think I did 2 months outside before I relapsed. This has nothing to do with the rehabilitation center. It's a brilliant place with amazing people, and it's owned by one of the leading psychiatrists in Kenya. So this is not a discredit to them. I think I hadn't fully committed to the journey of recovery, especially after I got out and, you know, I started wondering, who am I in this world if I'm not a half-drunk, amazing creative. And the story of how I actually relapsed is just sad. My girlfriend at the time, now mother of my children, she and I were living together. It was just the two of us. We had not had children yet. And she was making dinner and she was making ugali and greens. And, I was very surprised to hear that there was no meat in that process. And so I offered to take a walk to the butcher, which wasn't too far away, like maybe 400, 500 meters, to get some meat to go with this glorious ugali. And, I'd been home and sober for almost 2 months at this stage. And so I take a walk and it was nice. It was eveningish, like 5:36, walking, minding my own business. I go to the butcher who had been a butcher that we had bought meat from for years. And he was happy to see me after a long while. And he gave me a really amazing piece of meat. And I'm busy heading home to turn this meat into a stew. And I hear someone call me, "Hey, Jerry." And I look back and it was like a friend, one of those friends who, if that guy spoke in public and told everyone my my dirty laundry, he knows everything because he was there. And I was like, "My G, I haven't seen you in a minute. Where have you been?" I'm like, "Yo, I've been in rehab. It's been crazy." So, important to note, he's calling me and having this conversation with me from across the road. He's standing right outside a bar. And, so he crosses over and we say hi. And, he goes into it and we start talking like we always did. And he was like, "Yo, bro, let me grab a double for you, bro." I swear I went into autopilot. Yeah. There was no resistance. There wasn't, "Oh, I stopped drinking." None of that. Like when he said that, I was like, "Let's do this." And so into the bar. It's after I hit my second double. So I always started my drinking with like a bunch of shots. Otherwise, when we're going to spend the whole night drinking and peeing and nothing happening. After I swallowed my second, actually, it was my second shot, not a double. That's when it hit me because those two shots hit my system hard. Remember, I'd been through detox and 115 days without drinking in rehab. So, I mean, my system is clean. Those two doubles hit me hard. And that's when it hit me what I'd done. And so I felt guilty and I felt like a shitty human being. And I decided, you know what? F it. We're already in. I've already messed up. Let's go. Sorry, that's my phone. I'll have to call her back a bit later. So anyway, I drink until about 2 a.m. and then I go back home where I find my girlfriend. Sorry about that. I find my girlfriend who's been waiting. So first she was wondering, Allah, when this guy went to buy meat where? And then now she's wondering, is he even alive? What happened? Because I left the house at like 5:30. It's now 2 a.m. and I'd left my phone. So I walk in drunk and man, she just cried. And I think she went to cry in the room and I just stayed in the living room and she ended up calling my family. So my grandma, my two aunties, they were directly involved, and my grandpa actually, they were directly involved with how I went to rehab the first time. And so, long story long, a couple of weeks later, I decided to try rehab again. Important to note, this time it was not bougie. Yeah, because that first rehab was expensive. That thing was in today's terms about $5,000 for the 3.5 months I was there. This next one was back to basics. um, I went to a very basic rehabilitation center. I'm not mentioning the names of these facilities here because I do not want I don't want for anyone who's watching this to feel like it's an endorsement. Um, I went to this very basic rehabilitation center, and the moment I went there after the check-in process, I remember looking around and seeing everyone there, girls, dudes, um, and I remember thinking, my people, these are my people. And like the first time where I had a bit of angst and I was wondering, what's a rehab about? This time, the moment my people left and I was there, I looked around at all these total strangers, and the first thought that came to mind was my people. Because we were all there for similar reasons, just trying to fight for our lives, man. I guess you can tell just from the onset that my attitude towards rehab the second time was very, very different. I committed to that process 100%. That was the second time and last time that I went to rehab. After I left that facility, I started a brand new life that has led me to this day where you and I are having this conversation 12, going on 12 years later. Not only did I stop drinking, I was so committed to leaving that place a different person that I had asked my psychiatrist. In fact, I didn't even ask, I told him the meds that put me on. Now, I mean, after I got into rehab, the meds were next level. Um, I mean, those tranquilizers, Jesus, man. I mean, the nurse would not give you that tablet unless you are sitting on your bed because my G, in 10 minutes, you is out. And the mood stabilizer, I'm trying to remember, it's a really popular one. Anyway, I hated the fact that I needed those things to feel normal. And I had told the psychiatrist that, hey, listen, you can either deliberately begin the process of weaning me off these meds, or I will stop consuming them. The choice is yours. And because I had brought myself to rehab, it was, I'd volunteered to come. I wasn't forced by family to come. It was they sat me down and asked me, okay, so my guy, what do you want to do? And I said, if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to go back to rehab. Because I'm the one who'd volunteered to be in rehab. He had to listen when I said, you need to wean me off. And he did. And by the time I'm leaving rehab after 95 days, I was not on any meds. I slept every night at 8 or 8:30. I had quite amazing, my mood was stable throughout the day without meds. And it's on the basis of that that I have built everything that I have. Um, it's 4,380 days since my last drink. I've not had a gram. I've not seen, used cocaine. I've not drunk in 4,380 days. I'm a father of two. These two little people, I'll share with you pictures from when they were a bit younger. In the advent of AI, I'm not trying to show AI what my children look like. Um, I'm a business owner, very proudly so. I own a business called KW Creative that is a content and digital marketing agency. I have another one called Conceptual Grey that was originally a communication company that has now turned into a concept development company. And more recently, I registered a company called Finding Dry Land that is a social enterprise that is basically everything that I want to do towards helping people like myself is going to be based on FDL, Finding Dry Land. I'm also involved with three other businesses, playing different roles and acting in different capacities. I'm a dependable member of my family. I'm a present father. I'm also in the process of becoming a motivational speaker and published author. I am not saying any of these things to flex or to impress you. I'm simply trying to give you some contrast to see, to demonstrate the fact that it is possible. It is possible to go through the worst experiences of your life under addiction and build a brand new life on the other side of it. It's possible to leave all this behind, to be deliberate about recovery, to be committed in recovery, and build a life that genuinely fills you with joy. It's important that I mention that I am not perfect. God, not even close. With regard to substance use, in the interest of full disclosure, I still smoke cigarettes. I'd stopped for a while, but that's a story for another day. I still smoke cigarettes. I am building up towards stopping that again. I'm not perfect. I have moments of terrible weakness, be it in terms of behavior or character. I have many things I'm still working on. But, dear friend, I have not touched a drink in 12 years. I've not had any kind of cocaine in 12 years. And it is the things I have done that I want to share with you on this series that have made it possible for me to be here now. If you're going through it right now, if you're watching this and you're freshly out of rehab or just about to leave rehab, or if you're watching this and you'd come out of rehab and maybe you'd relapsed, I know that feeling. I want you to know that if I did it, you can too. You don't have to figure out how to get to 12 years. You just need to commit to one day at a time. You just need to commit to the process. You just need to commit to the tools. You just need to wake up every day with an optimistic outlook on life and know that it is possible for you. If taking it a day at a time feels like too much, and I remember that too, take it an hour at a time. Take it 10 minutes at a time. In fact, just be present. In the moment you are in right now, take a deep breath and realize that you're okay. Take a deep breath and realize that everything is not perfect. Everything is not exactly the way you want it to be, but in this moment, you still have sobriety. In this moment, tomorrow can be anything that you want it to be, provided you commit to the process. And I'll be honest with you, it's not going to be easy. Even with the blueprint that I'm committed to sharing with you, it's not going to be easy. It's going to require you fighting yourself. It's basically a battle between who you used to be and who you're trying to become. And a battle it is. But I promise you this, it will be worth it. Your life will be so different. Things that used to knock you down, things that used to throw you off, you'll be looking back at some point and wondering, how amazing is it that I have come this far? I'm not perfect, but I look back at the last 12 years and I can see my growth. I can see my resilience. And I can see that somehow, excuse me, throughout that process, with every passing day, I'm becoming more and more a version of me that I'm actually proud of. I don't beat myself up because of the weaknesses I still have. I do not fight them off. I see them and recognize them as part of who I am and then work on getting better every single day. And you too can. This video has been massive. I'm so sorry. But if you're watching still, it means that you're committed. It's you I came for. It's you. It's for you that I'm doing this. As I record these videos, I'm not visualizing 10,000 people watching these videos. I'm envisioning one person in front of their computer, in front of their phone, in front of their tablet, wherever you're watching this from. It's you I came for, just you. If you can watch these videos and they change your life, change your approach towards life, help you ground your sobriety, and help you build a new life, just you, then my mission is complete. I came for you. And if you're watching this and you're not afflicted by the disease of addiction, I beg you, please share these videos with somebody who you might know, somebody who might be in your life who is, because I promise you this, I'm going to pour my soul into these things. I'm going to take everything that I've learned over the last 12 years and share it candidly with only one intention, that just one person can take this blueprint and go into their recovery with confidence. Allow me to conclude this video from here, right here. We are then, hold on, are we? One sec. Oh, yes, correct. Okay, good. Yes, we are done with my story. It's taken much longer than I hoped it would, but I felt it was important to go into a bit of detail. On the next video, we start getting into the tools. I wish you blessing. I'm sending you amazing energy. Keep going one day at a time. Keep trusting the process. I promise you, it will be worth it. God bless. See you on the next one.